games. Let's say it one more time. He's averaging 40 over the last 21. That last loss against the Nets, Harden scored 58. He scored at least 30 in 18 straight games. He'll look to continue that streak against the Lakers tonight at 8. What's been most impressive about what he's doing?
I think being in shape. People say, that sounds too easy. Well, you have to, and Boozer, you know this, you have to be in a certain kind of shape to put these kind of numbers up every night. I remember Tracy McGrady said it one day with Paul George, when you become that next level superstar, your legs have to be in a certain type of condition because you have to do it every night. It was like we were teasing about Kuzma. He got to 42 and then kind of fell off for a couple games and he got back hot again. He was like, wow, it is hard to get 42 every night. So now when you watch James Harden do it, you're like, oh my goodness. Yeah. After coming back from an injury this season to get his legs back in his condition to perform the way he is.
And what's even more impressive to me is that, think about it, he's the #1 thing on the paper when you're trying to stop the Houston Rockets. Right. And he's still putting up these kind of numbers. It's very impressive what he's doing.
Well, Mike D'Antoni says Chris Paul will return sometime next week. This week, the Rockets also lost Clint Capella 4 to 6 weeks following thumb surgery. So how much of these injuries are starting to mount up for this team that makes Harden's run even more ridiculous when you're considering he's not getting help from other guys?
Yeah, he's carrying the load, man. I mean, obviously with CP being out, that hurts a lot. Capella being out, especially with rebounding and someone that dives to the hoop, gets the easy lobs and alley-oop dunks. It makes James Harden job that much more harder, but he's doing it. He's performing, he's carrying that team, he's getting some help from Eric Gordon. You know, Gerald Green's playing very well. Other guys can step up as well, but it's pretty much all on James Harden's shoulders.
Yeah, defensively it's going to be interesting to see how they play good team defense without Capella. Offensively, James has proven he can hold down the fort till Chris Paul gets healthy. But now with Capella, who's going to be that rim protector? Who's going to get those big rebounds he was showing us this season?
Well, that's an interesting question because according to multiple reports, Kenneth Faried is that guy. Now, here's a thing that's just concerning about him. He's played 44 games over the last 2 years, and he's not hurt. Why is that?
Because he hasn't been in Brooklyn's rotation, or should I say plan. He wasn't in Denver's plan. Once Jokic and Nurkic came on, we talked about in the meeting, he had just got that big contract. He said he saw the writing on the wall. He gets to Brooklyn, Kenny Atkinson said he's just not a part of the rotation, so that's what happened. But I will give him credit. He hasn't complained. He hasn't been a bad apple in the locker room. He's been going about his business. Now he's about to get bought out and possibly, go to Houston to all the conversation. If that happens, he will bring energy. That's how he made his name in this NBA, of running the floor, getting loose balls, rebounding, setting good screens, and rolling to the basket.
And speaking of situations, you're a guy that understands it depends as a big what your situation is. For him to play with a guy like James Harden, look, he's averaged 13 points in his career. He's averaged 9 rebounds in a season in his career. Can he get back to that form? He's still just 29.
Well, Houston's going to hope he does. He's very young. He's very fresh. He doesn't have a lot of miles on his legs right now. And the hope for Faried is, like 3D said, he brings energy. There's always room for a guy that brings energy and effort. And if he can continue to run the floor hard, set good screens, roll to the hoop for alley-oops, play good defense, rebound the basketball, he can help that team out.
Keeping with our theme of teams missing their key players, there's none bigger than one LeBron James for the Los Angeles Lakers, right? Well, they come into tonight against Houston riding a 2-game win streak. The Lakers actually 5-7 overall without LeBron now. That includes wins in 4 of their last 6. Of the young Lakers who seemingly are growing through this experience over the past couple of games, who's growing the most to you?
Kyle Kuzma has been cooking. You look at his numbers throughout the stretch, 26 points, 7 rebounds, playing very well. Me and 3D talked about it last night with you, Chris. He plays downhill. He's a runner. He takes advantage of his opportunities. He shoots the ball from a pretty solid clip from the three-point line. He makes his free throws, and he's getting more consistent. And that's the big thing for me with him, because he can pick and pop. He can roll to the hoop. On defense, he can play the 2, 3 to 4, sometimes the 5, depending on who he's going against. So for him, in his second year, to be averaging 19 points and doing what he's doing, trying to hold that fort down offensively, doing a great job.
I think for that OKC game was Alonzo Ball for me, and to hear him say that I'm playing with more confidence, I'm playing more aggressive now that LeBron's down on the floor. He's used to having the ball in his hand, so I'm saying to myself, guys, if Alonzo can play with this type of aggression and this type of focus and this type of confidence when LeBron comes back, then LeBron can say, okay, maybe I can take this quarter off because I know Zoe's going to do all the right things to keep things going. If I come out the game, we're up 10, I come back in, we're up 14 because Zoe is playing confident basketball. That's what I like when I saw that OKC game.
All right, focusing on this matchup, the Lakers have also lost to the Rockets twice, and that's with LeBron, and that's by an average of 12 points. All right, and James Harden scored 50 the last time these two teams went head-to-head. Can we expect the Lakers to be able to compete in this one? Chris Paul out, Clint Capella out, that's different. But can they compete against James Harden, the bearded one, the way that they're currently constructed without LeBron on the court?
Well, I think what Luke Walton will try to do is to tap in what we saw in the OKC game the other night. The question is, when James Harden gets cooking, does your enthusiasm get taken out of you because now how do you slow him down? You know, on the flip side is you have to get some stops to get some easy offense to get your confidence going on the offensive side of the ball.
I think something else I like that they did the other game was where they had Ingram playing the point, almost like a point forward.
Yes.
That helps them offensively, get guys involved, make plays for each other. So we'll probably see more of that tonight.
LeBron will be cleared to practice next week. Lakers have Golden State on Monday, Timberwolves on Thursday, the Suns on Sunday. When you look at those games and you think of LeBron coming back, when do you foresee him being able to get back on the court if he's just now starting to practice on Monday?
Knowing LeBron, Booz, you've been around him before. If LeBron really wanted to play, I think tomorrow, if we had to, he would. But I think there's being smart just to make sure. So a practice or two, and if LeBron said he's ready, then he'll be back on the floor.
Yeah, LeBron's done a great job with his body. As you guys know, he barely ever misses any games, as we've seen throughout his career. I'll leave it up to him. You know, I think if I'm one of his teammates, he knows his body better than anybody else at this stage in his career, does a good job of taking care of it, works out every day. And when he's ready, he'll be back out there. And when he does get back out there, the wins will start going like this. Yeah.
And if you go this, right, because the Lakers in the standings, they were doing this before their recent win streak, winning 4 of their last 6. Does that take the pressure off LeBron to come back when, okay, the young guys are handling this right now, they're staying afloat, they've won 4 of 6, as opposed to, oh, wow, we're falling, we're almost out of the playoff picture in the Western Conference?
I think it's the other way around, where when things were struggling, it might have been some pressure that maybe I come back a little sooner.
Yeah.
They win a couple. And now I want to get back now while they're playing well to feed off the good confidence and the good play. Versus they're struggling, it's like, LeBron, come save us. No, now we found our stride. Now we found our confidence. Now come back to your point. Now let's really ride this wave and go that way. I think he's looking at it that way.
Yeah, I agree 100% because now these guys have stepped up. Kuzma's playing better. You know, Lonzo Ball's playing better. Ingram's being a playmaker and doing more things. Then you bring LeBron, who's an MVP candidate, back into the fold and gives them a chance to get even more boosted, hopefully climb a little bit up in this Western Conference standings.
That makes a lot of sense. It'll be interesting to see how the Lakers perform tonight against the Houston Rockets and how they look when LeBron James comes back. Certainly something to be excited about. Russell Westbrook in.
Pacers were blown out by Philly last night. You saw that on TNT, but still sitting third in the Eastern Conference, 44 games into the season, thanks in large part to a healthy Victor Oladipo, who recently sat down with Roz Gold on Wood A.
Victor Oladipo is just a fantastic basketball player.
He had a breakout year last year for the Pacers, and he looks great here in the season already.
Oladipo to the rim.
Shake him up, Vic.
Here's Oladipo, 3 seconds.
Race up.
Oladipo to win it.
Another one! Victor Oladipo, this is your city.
What have you found it takes to bear the responsibility of being the leader and the face of this franchise?
A lot goes into it, you know what I mean? And too much is given, much is required. And I've been hearing that for like every day for the past year. It's been tough, man. You gotta know what to say and when to say it, but at the same time, you gotta listen. I think being a leader is something that you have to learn how to do. There are natural born leaders, but there's some aspects of leadership that are things that you have to continuously learn from the people you surround yourself with, from your teammates. For me, I'm learning that every day. I'm learning my teammates. I'm learning what they like, what they dislike, and just about their everyday life. And also with leadership comes sacrifice for yourself, sacrificing your time, and doing whatever it takes to help your team win. And that's what I'm locked in and focused on.
You have a pretty balanced roster, a number of guys scoring in double digits. Does that balance kind of take the pressure off a little?
In general, yeah. I mean, it's hard to guard us. you can double me, but I'm throwing it to Domas, and Domas is throwing it to whoever else is open. Or I'm throwing it to Miles, and Miles is throwing it to whoever else is open, or they're shooting their shot. So we got a lot of depth, and we got a lot of good players who can make things happen. But I never had a lot of pressure on me to begin with. So whether they double me or not, I don't feel any pressure. I just got to go out there and play.
Has your team earned respect yet? What is the respect you feel your team deserves right now?
I mean, being with them every day, I believe we earn a lot of respect. We deserve a lot of respect, but I don't think guys give it to us, which is fine, you know. At the end of the day, everybody isn't going to respect you, no matter who you are, no matter what you do. Just focus on each other and continuing to get better. We know that we can play at a high level in this league. We know we can win at a high level in this league, and we just got to continue to keep proving it every day.
Mentioned the Pacers are third in the East right now, and as was discussed there, this is a deep basketball team. Victor Oladipo is obviously their best player. My question for you guys is this a better regular season team or playoff team? Because they don't necessarily have that superstar guy who scares you in a postseason scenario as good as Oladipo is.
I don't know if I agree with you about Oladipo. I think Oladipo is a guy that...
You think he's there?
I think he is a guy that in today's NBA, he's a problem in a playoff setting. And look, this is a league right now where you're either a super team or you're a team with quality depth and emerging stars that you're going to hope can carry you deeper into the postseason than they normally would. I think about Boston last year without Kyrie and Gordon Hayward. They relied on a similar formula, quality depth as opposed to one or two superstars carrying you. Denver has a team to me right now that's built exactly like that. So I'm not as concerned about the top end of the Pacers roster. I'm more concerned about is their quality depth what it needs to be for them to have a sustained playoff run.
So it's interesting. I think people lose sight of how good they were in the playoffs last year.
They were good,
They lost to Cleveland in 7 games. But I thought it was the toughest series Cleveland had until they made it to the finals, quite frankly.
Agreed.
The Pacers are a team, because they have to be better than the sum of their parts and they have to be on the same page, to some degree, they have to outwork you all the time. And over the course of an 82-game year, that's really difficult. I don't think they have the kind of margin for error to be a high 50s win team. I don't think they can be a 60-win team in terms of their margin for error and their star power. But in terms of their ability to lock in and prepare for a playoff opponent, the number of guys they have on their team, to your point about quality depth, who have basketball IQ, grit and toughness, and are willing to sacrifice for the greater good is incredible. And their best player, Victor Oladipo, doesn't care anything at all about anything other than winning basketball games. And that puts you in really good stead come playoff time. I think Nate McMillan and his staff will do a great job preparing for series. I think they're a more dangerous postseason team than they are regular season.
Interesting. Yeah, they do have really good depth. I don't disagree with that at all. Trade deadline's coming up next month. Where should they be looking, if at all?
You know, it's interesting. I think the one thing for them, it's complicated with what they have. You don't have a lot of pieces there you can aggregate to go get another star-type player without sort of taking a step back in terms of how you really operate.
Yeah.
But they're a team that by design is going to overachieve. And that means all the pieces they have sort of have to fit together in lockstep. If I was going to bring in anything, and you could say this about any contender, I would want more veteran three-point shooting.
Yep.
Somebody who can actually make shots versus a good contest. But who doesn't want a 6'8" guy that can make threes?
Right.
Yeah, I think the same dilemma that the Pacers are going to have come trade deadline is one that's going to plague every other team around the league that's not the Warriors. And that is there one player out there that pushes us up to that very next level, whatever it is, if it's right,
and do they think they're good enough to get to that next level?
Exactly. And with a free agent summer coming up, Matt, where there's so many different, scenarios they could play out, I would imagine we're going to see a lot of teams very apprehensive about doing anything crazy because they know what could potentially be coming down the line. When things go haywire in the summer and if one player moves somewhere and it kind of sets the whole world on its axis, then we got an opportunity to do some things that we don't want to jeopardize at the trade deadline.
Well, to that end, though, Indiana's really interesting because they're not a team that's going to sit there and think they are a max free agent destination.
No. Right.
And they only have $60 million on the books for next year. So Kevin Pritchard and Chad Buchanan have the ability to go into trade deadline right now, willing to potentially take some money into the future if it can be the right piece for them. And I'm going to throw out a name for you with no understanding of how they make the math work whatsoever.
Sure.
Marc Gasol, if he gets moved from Memphis, playing with that group of guys, playing with a big like Sabonis who knows how to play and can dribble, pass, and shoot, that would be a fascinating piece to put in there and to give Nate McMillan and see what he can do.
You talked about the Denver Nuggets zagging when everyone else is trying to zig. Indiana could definitely do that if Gasol's there with Turner or Sabonis on the floor with him. That would be
and
really
Turner can
scenario.
space off of Gasol and vice versa.
Absolutely.
They'd be able to be really elite defensively in the paint. Let's make it happen. I like it.
Sabonis is great off the ball. Gasol could.
And Indiana has already crashed the party in the Eastern Conference when we weren't expecting it. Nobody looked up and said, hey, there's going to be 5 teams in the East that you have to worry about in that top group. And Indiana's not the 5th team. Right now it's Boston. Right. So they gotta be very mindful of the fact that we talked about Golden State. And do you get worse before you get better with Boogie coming in? Well, if you make a move and you're one of these teams, does it set you back before it propels you forward? Right. And do you want to take that risk now when you're already in a really good position if you're Indiana?
If it propels you forward, because you never know. When
you don't know.
Roll the dice on these deals. Well, hopefully you have the day off Monday for the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, which we have helpfully already planned for you. Wasn't that nice of us? A pair of NBA TV games, Thunder and Knicks, Magic and Hawks, and then it's a TNT triple header, Pels, Grizz, Rockets, Sixers, and the Warriors in LA to take on the Lakers. Game time throughout the day, really, here on NBA TV, and then TNT takes over inside the NBA when the night ends.